Thanks, team.
Awesome. Okay, so one thing we had a lot of questions about from the survey was about training. So Corinne, will employees get proper training to learn how to navigate and utilize Workday? How is that training going to be delivered? And what will it look like for new employees who start working at the university after we go live?
Sure. And I'm excited to talk about this first because I think it crosses over into the reasons we're doing this project as a university. The quick answer to training is we're going to have all the things for everyone. So we have, as part of that change management team, Ghana Smith, a longtime employee, super advocate for our entire community, faculty, staff, students, is our training lead. And we're working together with Huron to think through job aids, micro-learning, webinars, classroom training, guided, open learning labs, where you can just come and do something and have a support system there in case you need help. So we're designing and pulling all of that together now. And we have this great opportunity to think about what we need to make the change and then what we need to sustain us ongoing. We joked as a team, it's like we go live July 1. Yeah. July 2, we have a new employee and they've never seen Banner before. So we can't just lean into a crosswalk because they didn't start with the Banner lingo. And so we need to think about those resources and the audience. So we're going to have a lot of training. You'll hear more about it early in the spring, and it will persist throughout. When I say I'm excited about that, I was thinking about it on my drive in this morning. The part of the reason William & Mary is doing this project is our digital transformation as a business. And I made myself laugh this morning because when you think about digital transformation, it's not one thing. It's not like we're on the other side of this project and we're like, transformed, we're good for another, couple hundred years. It's continuous. And the reason we picked Workday, it's not because it's just this implementation that's going to change us, but it's because that's a solution or a platform that is continually injecting new features, new functionality into the product. And I'll be honest, for implementation, we can't leverage every bell and whistles. We're having to make choices based on our timeline, but it means we're going to have opportunities to continually improve. And along with that, new features that come out every September, every March, we have to be mindful of what does the ongoing training look like to match that ongoing feature release. And so we're really designing a training program around the ERP, not just for implementation, but so we can optimize what this product and platform is giving us. And so I'm super excited about that. I think it's an all hands on deck effort. I mean, before we even picked Huron, when we were looking at partners, we made it very clear in the RFP process that training was super important to the university and the institution. And we're excited that Huron comes with a robust catalog of resources and advice. And we're going to figure out how we bring that into the environment in an ongoing way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, next question. Are we going to have Banner Student and Workday at the same time, and will they talk to each other?
They will. They're actually talking so much to each other that it takes about 8 integrations to move data between the two systems. So we're moving our core finance and HR functionality, taking that out of Banner and putting that into Workday. Banner remains as our student information system. And part of the student information system is also that faculty management system. So what courses are faculty assigned to? What is the schedule for those courses? All that course management and student information will remain in Banner. But students pay tuition, and we've got to figure out how to manage those financial transactions between the activity that's happening in Banner and our partner system, TouchNet, that will stick around, and the new Workday environment. So we've got lots of integrations that the team is working on now to move that information back and forth to support all of that business activity.
Great. And so we received a lot of questions about what systems and tools will be replaced by Workday, and I'll give you some examples of that people gave. So Chrome River, by W&M, Click, America to Go, Cornerstone, People Admin. What's going to be replaced by Workday?
Yeah, so I'll talk about some definites that we know. And, you can appreciate that as we undo some of our longtime partnerships with some of these software vendors, there's contract dates and notification processes. So we're being mindful and respectful of that on the procurement side, making sure our partners understand where we are in this transformation project. But BuyWM is going to stick around. It's going to continue to be our procure to pay system, and America to Go as well. We're integrating both of those with Workday. Whole project teams dedicated to the procurement effort. That team is dynamite. I'm super excited about that. And so BuyWM sticks around. Click, there's a ton of student reporting in Click. So Click is going to stay to support Banner Student, but it's important to note that when we go live with Workday, that those finance reports and HR reports that we use in Click today aren't going to work because the data is not going to be in Banner, and they were built on Banner. We're not so worried about losing functionality there because Workday delivers over 4,000 reports and since we're streamlining and taking defaults wherever we can to really optimize that transformation, a lot of those reports will just work for us. But we do have some custom state regulatory things, unique business to William & Mary reports that we have a reporting team that's working on right now. A lot of you may have participated in the evaluation of what our reporting needs are, so we can make sure we're ready to go when we go live with anything that's critical. And so we're going to have a lot of reporting in Workday as well. There will be a whole training effort around that in advance of go live, so people can start to see what tools they're going to have to manage the business and their work. So Click, it stays for student activity, but we'll have some new reporting for finance and HR. People admin goes away. The people admin functionality is part of that core HCM platform in Workday. I'm trying to think of others that go away. Chrome River, we're still working through some configuration. We do a lot of conditional logic in Chrome River around our state required rules and some of our institution rules. And so we're building that out in Workday to make sure it meets all the needs, but we haven't, made that decision firmly as a leadership group yet. So we'll know at the end of architect and configure what that experience looks like. Erin, were any others mentioned that I could answer specifically?
I can't remember if you said anything about America to Go or Cornerstone.
America to Go stays. Cornerstone goes away, but not until phase 2 of this project, which kicks off in the fall of 2025. So when we go live with Workday initially, Cornerstone will still be here, and then we'll transfer that functionality to Workday soon after that initial go live. And so we do plan to retire Cornerstone in 2026. And so we'll transfer there, but that helps also throttle the change. Which I think is welcome for our users.
Great. And I think you touched on this, but what will happen with the faculty services portion of Banner?
So when we talk about faculty services, if we think about the work that faculty do in Banner related to courses and students and instruction, that doesn't change. What changes for faculty is the paycheck part, the employee experience part. So their employee activities move to Workday. Their faculty activities, interacting with, their class rosters or grades, that stays in Banner for now. Yep.
All right. When and how will things change?
Go live is July 1, team. And so what does that mean? With this project, unlike a student information system change, which kind of follows the business cycle of our student experience, this is what we're calling a big bang. So on July 1, we're going to be live with financial transactions, transacting our finance business in the Workday environment, as well as that HR side. So your July paychecks, our July paychecks next year will come out of Workday. We're going to move the timesheet data so everybody's not scrambling on day 1 to enter a timesheet, but that first check will actually come out of the Workday system, and we'll start hiring. We'll start hiring people in Workday in July. So that's when the change is really going to happen.
All right. And is there going to be an overview of Workday and how it functions?
Yes. So beginning early in 2025, we're going to start, sharing more information about the platform, about those changes, the specifics around timeline and activities and training opportunities. All of that will be part of our change management activities and processes, and those will really kick up in the winter. To be very candid right now, we're in architect and configure still, so we don't have all the answers, and that's okay. We're right on track following Workday's launch methodology. Even though we are asking a lot of questions of our partners, they even reassured me this morning that they're all feeling really good about where we are and the progress that we made. And so we're not quite ready to share that information yet. That's why we haven't. But as soon as we are, we're going to be pushing it out to campus.
All right. And our last question from the FAQs from the readiness survey is what HR processes are changing?
All the things, team. So onboarding, moving positions, our department, our organizational structure, our payroll processes, our tax processes on the HR side, all of it. So everything around managing our employee population and those activities will be part of Workday. I say that there's a couple of things. We're not going to do background checks in Workday. We still have a partner solution for that will integrate with Workday. Same with I-9s. Equifax is our I-9 vendor. It's going to stay our vendor, but it will integrate with Workday instead of integrating with Banner.
All right. So we are going to open it up to an open Q&A in the chat. So please post your questions over there. And Ghana Smith is on the call. She's been monitoring the chat. So Ghana, do you want to go ahead and I see we already have a couple. Do you want to go ahead and take those?
Yeah. So Corinne, I know you spoke a lot about things that are being absorbed by Workday, but this question has to do with beyond phase one, if you're able to answer it. Curious to know, as a general overview, what other university functions and processes will be scheduled to be absorbed into Workday beyond phase one?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer this in two ways. One is I'm going to tell you what we've committed to. What we've committed to in that phase two, which is kicking off in the fall of 2025, is Workday calls it adaptive planning. And it's really a budgeting process tool set that it's going to allow us to do department budgeting and budget requests in a much more efficient way than we do right now. I don't know if any of you are involved in that, but there's a whole lot of Excel flying around campus when it comes to budget planning time. And we're going to hopefully reduce that and bring some of that activity right into the system. So you have more information at hand and tools to really support that, and tools for the budget office to get their arms around all of that. So that's the budgeting and budget management is a huge additional opportunity for William & Mary to leverage Workday. That's not part of phase one. Additionally, performance management. That's what I was talking about with Cornerstone. We've got performance management and employee learning. So right now, Cornerstone provides those two core functions for us as an employee community, and we're going to use the Workday tools for those. So those are additional products or core functionality in Workday. I briefly mentioned the opportunity to continue to innovate and optimize. Workday has a built-in business process engine that we are using during implementation to kind of replicate some of that automation that we have today. But we know, when I think about the requests that my team get, automating processes, I have a list that I could never get done if I worked on only that until I retire. And so we're hopefully going to continue to build that business optimization and automation activity. And so those processes might improve in Workday. Beyond that, we are doing a student information system evaluation. We're looking at Workday. What would our student footprint look like in the Workday environment? We have not committed to Workday for that yet. So, but we have a dedicated team who's exploring what that could look like in the Workday environment. And that team will make a recommendation to leadership. And leadership is also nudging us to do that evaluation because we want that modernization and optimization for our faculty and students just as much as, you know, probably more than we do on the administrative side of the house. So.
Great. The next question is about help in odd hours that some people work, the non-traditional, I'll say it that way. So for those employees who have early office hours, like 6 a.m. or so, and those people that have those late office hours, meaning after 6 p.m., will there be anyone to reach out to for help when it is needed at those odd hours?
Becca, that's an excellent question. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't thought a lot about that yet. So I'm so glad that you said that because I think it's definitely an opportunity. And if you don't mind adding to chat, are you thinking for that go live support or are you thinking extended support? Because in my mind, those might be different needs and I might answer the question differently. I definitely think through this go live window, we need to be thinking about how we support those staff members, community members who aren't working a typical administrative shift. So I'm all in for that. I see the team nodding, nodding heads. So we're going to put that on our radar and build a plan to accommodate that. I will give you that right now. Ongoing, it's a little trickier thinking about what the after hours resources will look like in an ongoing way. But I'm open to exploring what that could be. It's funny, it just came up in our IT leadership meeting this week. We have an IT emergency after hours number that has forwarded to my cell phone for like the last 10 years. But it's not, I'm not equipped always to provide that immediate support for some things that are not university emergencies. So we're talking about that already in other spaces. And I think it makes great sense to think about Workday and ERP support in that same conversation.
Yeah, especially at the beginning when you first start implementing and people need to get their time in. Yeah, I think there's a lot of police department, there's a lot of custodians, there's a lot of facilities people that work 11 to 7.
Absolutely. I'm so really genuinely thank you for bringing that up. It probably would have ended up on the radar maybe eventually, but it's not a conversation we've had yet. And I'll commit to figuring that out because it's important.
That was really great question, Becca. The next question is about privacy security. So what privacy security is Workday supplying?
Yeah, so right now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we have in Banner so you can understand, have a little more context on how it changes. Nick, our team, he's on the call right now. He's our primary Banner security admin, and Tracy, I'm not sure she's on the call or not, is our backup. What Banner security looks like today, because it's evolved over 20 years, is you put in a request for someone to have access, a supervisor, puts in a request for a new employee, and they're like, make this person look like the person that came before them. And it's very, we're checking boxes to see what forms they get and what groups they get dropped in. It's not tied to your position or your role. Your security is tied to you as a person and the work you're doing. In Workday, they have what's called role-based security. And so right now we have a whole team of representatives from Pete Kellogg's team, our Chief Information Security Officer, is working on that closely, along with Nick, who has that expertise now around Banner and the ERP, other people from technology, and I've actually been talking with Kent and our internal audit team about auditing our configuration choices that we're making right now before we go live, so we all feel good about it. But we're going to leverage the functionality in Workday tied to your role. So if you're in position A, we've already determined what security position A needs to do their job. And so that's the security you're going to get. It's limited to hierarchy. So like if you have elevated privileges to see advancement folks on the HR side, you're not going to see arts and sciences folks because your role has been defined for that advancement audience. Or similar on the finance side, you have access to a particular cost center because you have budget responsibility there. You're not going to see the IT cost center because you don't, that's not tied to your role or your finance access. And so I think the role-based security is going to be more efficient for us. It also helps us make sure that all of it is well structured and well defined. I think with Workday, we're going, and we got this question somewhere else, I think from one of our colleagues in the library this week to the project mailbox, is, just like all of our enterprise systems, we need to be diligent as employees. We need to understand what phishing is, and we need to make sure we're protecting our credentials and we're making good choices about our username and password and the things we're clicking on in email. And that's not new with Workday, but I'm using this opportunity as a reminder that when it comes to security and privacy, typically we're the greatest risk, not the software. And so take that training really seriously, pay attention. If you're not sure about a link that gets sent to you, don't click it. Send it to abuse and ask, and they'll advise you, and just be good stewards of those credentials, because that's typically where our biggest risk is. And use that in your private life too, right? That's not limited to William and Mary and Workday. Don't, if somebody's asking you for your username and password over the phone, that is a bad sign. So make good choices there.
I know somewhere Pete Kellogg right now is really smiling. So that was great.
I'm going to make him buy me lunch. No.
Yeah. So actually, that is the last question we have in the chat, Erin. I'm not sure if other people are still thinking about questions. I know I am a second day thinker. So is there a way that people can send us questions if they can think? If you could just remind us of that, how to submit questions later as they go on. But I do see a hand.
Yeah, and I don't mind hands. We can do some free form
Yeah.
questions too. That's fine. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah.
I guess I had maybe this is a low level question, but so in a unit where somebody is doing a position or something, once a month or that sort of thing, the people admin process, that's always been cumbersome with the PD side and the actual position side. Hopefully it's visually more distinct to make that process less confusing for people.
We are. So I can say from firsthand, because I've spent some time lately looking at that, we're making that better in a few ways. So first, I think the software itself is more intuitive. It's definitely fewer clicks. People admin drives me a little nutty. I'm not going to lie. So I get in there and I wear multiple hats in people admin, and some links work when I'm in one role and I have to switch to another role to have other links. The search isn't great. It's like 3 clicks away to get to the search criteria. And so just immediately the application is improved. The other thing we're looking at is the entire workflow on that business process. Right now, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. And so we're thinking through, like, what are all the approvals that exist now? And do they have to exist going forward? Like, can we get this from step A to step Z, with skipping a whole lot of letters in between? So those are the type of conversations that we're having in those functional work streams across all of our business processes and systems, and leaning into Huron to say, this one, our users really want to see this better. What can we do? How can we change configuration? How can we change those workflows in the system to help make that a better experience? And so I do think it will be a better outcome than that one in particular than what we have right now in people admin. But I think we can expect some of that improvement across a lot of our business processes.
Yeah, it just seems to me like we have a lot of what I would call novice users. Even though they use it, they only use it, a few times a year. And so they're in a mode where they have to relearn it every time.
Yeah. And we're actually talking about that for resources too. So it's not practical to think you're going to sit through an hour-long training class to do a task that takes 20 minutes and you do it, once every few months. But maybe a 30-second short that hits the highlights if you forget something is a good resource to have readily available at your fingertips as a refresher. And so that's some of those micro learning conversations that we're having now too, is What do our users want to have as those type of quick, like, aha, I remember that, I missed that click, or some documentation out of some of this change. Yep.
Sets of screenshots, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a related thing is, do you have sort of focus groups for your training and implementation? Beyond sort of the core team and some of the people that are deeply in the infrastructure?
Yep, we sure do. So Huron, that change management work stream, one of the first activities they had us do was build what they called a stakeholder analysis. And so what that is this monster Excel sheet of chunking out our audiences in different ways. So thinking, beyond those core functional owners who are actually making the configuration, like we called out department admins in arts and sciences. Like that's an audience that has different responsibilities, and we know as a collective of users, their needs are a little bit different. And so how do we think about this implementation and change from their lens? Some of our professional schools, athletics, employees that are hourly or temporary. And so faculty members as different groups, we went through and created the stakeholder analysis. And then we're using that as the foundation for thinking through what the change in the rollout looks like. What training do they need? What communication do they need? What support will they need, after July 1 and beyond? And so if you have suggestions on groups, or you want to make sure it's on our radar, please send it to that email address. We are doing our best. We're, based on what we know of the university, we invited a lot of our change network to contribute to that stakeholder analysis. So I feel pretty good, but we're never going to get it perfect every time. So I'm always open to those suggestions and just confirming that something's on our radar, like exactly what Becca did. That's great.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the recent comparable experience for us is by WM. As a major systems change, and
Right.
and a lot of things for the end user experience became less efficient, even though the back end became much more efficient for administrative use. And so that's why I think, pre-testing some of these things early on with, if it's ANS admins or other people that are in roles, again, where they use it, but maybe don't use it every day and live and
Right.
breathe, to make sure that's there. The other thing is a more technical thing.
Okay.
We had a transition in our office manager a couple of years ago, and the person before had been there since the early days of Banner. And we were told that you can't move position descriptions over to somebody new in Banner. We had to recreate new ones when people departed, because the position descriptions were owned by that particular administrator, and that there wasn't a mechanism in Banner to be able to transfer position description ownership to who's the hiring manager for new people in those positions. And I can't imagine that that's going to happen in Workday, but it's a real flaw in the way that they thought through how you were going to maintain and hire without thinking about transitions on the staff side.
Yeah, that provokes some questions when I hear we can't do it. A lot of questions pop in my head. I do know that people admin is our primary source for position descriptions. So it makes me wonder if there's something wonky on the people admin side before that PD data is moved through an integration into Banner. And, I get a lot of questions in my mind. Even if you were asking me to solve that problem today, I feel pretty good I could come up with a solution with investigating that with more information. I think it's unlikely we're going to have that same rigidity in Workday that we do in Banner, just because the way the platform is built. And so, sometimes, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, sometimes we would say no to different work. And I don't mean IT would say no, but our functional partners in the ERP space would say no, not because it was impossible, but the effort required to do that change in Banner was so significant that the office just couldn't possibly manage that. And I think with Workday, we're going to have a lot more flexibility in how we can leverage some of that data and using security roles and thinking about our structure across the university, that I feel better about going into this environment.
Yeah, thanks. I couldn't imagine that persisted, but it's in the weeds enough that I wasn't sure it had registered either.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What else do we have?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff, for those questions. We have Williams, R.A. Williams, that went through Workday implementation at Wake Forest University.
You're pro, yo.
And there were a few problems at the beginning after launch, but Williams is wondering, is there a plan for an appointed Workday response team to act on any detected bugs affecting certain intended functionality processes after Workday goes live?
Yes, the short answer to that is yes. And I'm going to be transparent with us on the call. There's going to be bugs and we're going to miss things because this is such a huge, complex and complicated project that there's no way we go live and it's perfect. In my whole career, I've never seen any implementation of a system go live and not have one thing we have to fix after. And that's okay because we are going to be ready for it. And so the tools that we have now are some we're using even early in this architect and configure stage. We have a tracker where our core testing teams are capturing defects now, where we have a team that's responding to those, making sure we're connecting with the right resources to resolve the issue, making sure nothing falls through the cracks. And we're going to adopt that same methodology when we move to end-to-end testing in the spring. And so by the time we go live, we're going to be pros at writing down what the defects are and then following up and making sure they get fixed because we're doing it all along. And so I can't tell you exactly what that is going to look like right now, but I can promise you there will be something. There will be a place to put those support requests in, defects, opportunities for improvement. I feel like once we get more cooks in the kitchen using the system, that's when we're going to capture a lot of ideas for future phases too. I want to capture all of it, and then we'll have a team that distributes those to the right resources to fix the problem or to evaluate, and then we'll bring that full circle to resolution.
Thanks for that. I see Andrew's hand.
I was just going to mention, we do also have from our implementation partner, something called Hypercare, which is dedicated support after we go live. And so we negotiated for extended Hypercare for, I believe, additional couple of weeks. So I think it's normally 4 to 6 weeks. I think we've gotten
8 weeks.
Yep. So anyway, just want to bring that up as well, so that it's not just us once we go live and our implementation partners sailed off. Instead, they've agreed to dedicate folks to helping us address some of those critical bugs in that important time.
Yeah, and that reminds me that we also subscribe to Workday Success Plan, which is another resource that we have available to us. It's subscription-based. You don't have to invest in that, but William & Mary chose to invest those dollars as another support system, support mechanism directly from Workday to help us with this change. So that's really encouraging as well.
Right. I know you mentioned the word capturing, Corinne. This next question is, once you have finished the configurations, will you be asking the departments that use certain aspects, if it works, for their day-to-day duties? Are you going to capture that information?
Yeah. So, and I want to, I'm going to back that up a little bit. When we say the configuration activity that's happening now, IT's in the room for some of that, but that is really at a local level. So finance has a direct finance lead from here on, helping them with implementation. Budget team, HR has a core person, and then there's 50 million resources for all of the subcategories. We've got time and attendance, we've got payroll accounting, we've got payroll, we've got benefits. Each one has a different lead from here on that's walking those functional teams through the configuration choices. Those teams are doing unit testing right now. So we went through those configuration activities. Team Huron built it out in a Workday tenant just for William & Mary. And now William & Mary core folks are looking at it. They call it kicking the tires to see how it works. And then what's going to happen is early in 2025, starts the end of January, we're going to do our first round of end-to-end testing. And then we do a second cycle of end-to-end testing, a whole lot of testing happening. It's half the project. It starts in March and goes through May. And if you are working in banner admin now, transacting business, you'll likely be part of that end-to-end testing at some point. And we're going to invite you to test. And we're going to put you in front of a Workday environment and say, we're going to prepare you with some training first. And we'll have support in the room. And we're going to say, all right, let's see how it goes. And all of that's going to happen before go live. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to experience Workday, to do your business. And even we're hoping in some of those to catch the gotchas, right? So part of the reason we do 2 rounds of end-to-end testing is because we know it's not going to be perfect the first time. And somebody's going to say, I don't think you thought about this scenario that happens once every 1,693 years. And we're going to say, you're right, we totally didn't. So let's fix that now, and then let's test it again. And so that's what that testing iterative cycle looks like. And we do 2 dedicated rounds of those for just that reason, with the audience expanding each time. So lots of, not just will you be able to, it's likely you may be required to help us with some of that testing, because we're not going to be able to go live with the excellence that we want without your help.
Kathleen made a comment, Corinne, directly at you, but I'm going to share it because it's to everyone. It's a great reminder that this is a we project. This integration is a William and Mary project that will benefit all of us. So thank you, Kathleen, for that comment.
Yes, go tribe.
Okay, so
I may be driving the bus, but there's a whole lot of people on the bus, you guys.
and you're doing a great job driving that bus. Thank you, Corinne. Here's another question, and it's a grant question. Will payroll encumbrances be utilized in Workday?
I'm checking my notes, team. I actually had this conversation. So I want to say yes, but I'm double checking. POs will still create encumbrances. Workday. I want to double check before I say definite yes. I think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the discussion that's happened in those local work teams around. There's different types of encumbrances. We've got PO encumbrances and travel encumbrances and payroll encumbrances. So we're talking about a lot of different encumbrances, as well as the random spend that might be happening at those local budget office level, like encumbering data. So I believe, yes, payroll encumbrances will be part of our finished product, but I'm going to confirm that, and then Erin can help me get that answer out.
Great. We are once again at the last question in the chat. I don't know if anyone would like to use the raise the hand feature again. If anybody is typing anything in the chat, would like to hit enter so we can see it. But we are definitely at the end of the chats. Or even Corinne with this space, if you wanted just to wrap it up or as well, or anything like that.
I might close if nobody has anything. Am I talking over somebody? Did somebody have something? No. Okay. In close, I would say thank you for coming. We joked. It's like, will this be 5 people or 500? I have no idea. You put a town hall out there in an open forum, and you really don't know what you're going to get, because it's not like it's an RSVP event. And so I appreciate you being here and taking time to listen and learn about this project, because it is a we project, and it's such a big deal for William and Mary. Like, this type of change we don't often do, and so it's important that we're all understanding what's happening. Maybe it doesn't directly impact us in our day-to-day activities, but it's definitely going to impact one of your colleagues along the way. And so just understanding what experience they've gone, they're going through, and how this change is going to impact them will make us a stronger community all around for the next year. And will definitely be a better business on the other side of it. So I'm excited about that. Please reach out. I love questions. I don't shy away from them. If we want to do another one of these, we're open to that. Send feedback to that project email address. Reach out to one of us directly. Totally fine. and we'll connect you with answers, or we'll tell you we don't have them, and that's okay too, but we'll pursue them. And we'll do that together, and then we'll come back to you with what the answer is. And so, again, thank you for being here.
All right, last chance if anyone has a question. All right, well, thank you all so much. Thank you for your great questions. Please, as Corinne said, continue to send them. Don't forget about the website. We're updating that regularly. So anytime we have something new for you, we're going to put it there. Also, that readiness survey that you all took in September, that's not the only one we're going to do. We're going to do at least 2 more, and that's going to help us see where our community is. So you can expect that to come out again. Please take it again. Please give your honest feedback. And again, thank you so much for attending this. It's great to see so many of you this morning, and reach out if you have any questions.
Thanks, team.
Bye.